Hello, Birgitte.
Hello, Jessica.
I am so excited to be able to interview the interviewer because it's been your job to interview all of the speakers, but you are also going to be a facilitator at the Human Design Conference 2025.
Mhm.
And yeah, I would love it if you could just like introduce yourself to people. You know, we have a lot of people coming from different places in Europe that probably have never heard about you. So, whatever feels most natural to you, tell us about yourself.
Well, humor is a big part of me. And I have, because I am the host of this podcast, I've been like, how do I'm also I'm also going to facilitate some things at the conference. How do I like interview myself? So I have been like scheming in my mind to have this scripted interview with myself. And then when you like, oh, we have to do this interview, I was like, oh, that's much easier, way more easier. so So if that tells you anything about me, I am a therapist, a body worker by trade or by education. A naturopath, I think, is the English word for it. It's a German education, Heilpraktiker. Um, and I've always, since I was a child, I've always been like, why are they doing what they're doing? Like, why are we doing what we're doing? What's human? You know, it's been I never really got it. So I kind of had to feel like I had to study it. So I've been studying humans, uh, outwards and inwards, like anatomy and physiology, and what else is there in this self-regulating organism? Like who controls that? And when I realize it's me, uh, I have way more responsibility and power, I guess, in my own health and in my own life. So also grown up with musicians and teachers, both my parents. So my dad's a jazz musician, jazz pianist, and my mother was a classical singer. So what do you get out of that? Something weird, I guess. So I've always been singing and I've always been making music. And I've also, like my conditioning has been that there's performance in it. There is a level, like you have to be the best and with an open ego or undefined ego. I didn't really sit too well. And also natural second line. Like I have a lot of natural talents when it comes to music, but you know, they didn't leave it alone. They should have left it alone, but they didn't. So I kind of withdrew a little bit already as a child when it came to the music. But for myself, with individual circuitry, you know, the pulse kicks in and melancholy kicks in. I didn't know when I was a child what it was. I would just call it when I got black.
Mm.
And then I was lucky enough to have this rehearsal room in the basement that was like soundproofed and had a grand piano in it. So I would just turn the lights off and play, just sit and play and just bathe in the waves from these strings, these massive strings that's in a grand piano. And I also remember thinking, like, if I ever have to choose between my eyesight and my hearing, I'm going to take my eyesight away, which is funny because I'm out of vision. but but that was a thought when I was a kid, because if I can do this, if I can just play and listen to this, like I'll be fine.
Mm.
So music and sound has always been part of my journey, and I also include it in my therapy, in my body work. Actually, I can use my voice directly into the person's body and system, which is a fascinating experience, by the way, because it's strange and weird and all these things, but it's definitely a vibration that can reach deep into things where I can't reach with my fingers, so places where I can't reach. So yeah, I have a lot of talents when it comes to music. That's I like to call it untapped potential. I have left it alone myself, but now this is like it's more of an urge coming out. So I also realize that it can be part of my therapy, not just for me, but for other people also with the sounds and the music.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's interesting with, also being a second line. And I've talked to a lot of different second lines who very often have had parents that see the talent and they're like, oh, you can make this into a career. You should be able to do this for forever. And it's just like, let me just love doing this and not have to always share it with everyone. At least that's my experience. Um, I'm curious about, you mentioned briefly, like just speaking into the body and using sound to get into the body. How did you discover that? How do you practice that? Are you able to explain more about that?
Good question. Am I? Well, it got introduced to me by a friend, my partner in sound. And she trained in School of Energy Healing in England, where they learned to do sound as part of this energy healing. And when we met, she kind of introduced that by just doing sound into like in my skull and my shoulders. Like it was very like a very intimate experience for me. And I was like, wow, what is this? So that just opened up the that world that this is possible. And then I just, as a second line, I just started using it. I just did it with my clients. And I quickly found out that if I ever get stuck, like if I can't move whatever the thing is, sound is going to do something to it. And there's, words are also sounds, but as soon as you put meaning to words, you engage, I don't know, cortex, you engage a part of the person that I'm not too interested in engaging. Often because it's a part that will defend itself. It will defend its patterns and its disease, in a way. So what I find with sound is that there is no defense. It just bypasses everything and goes in and it's like, what happened? I don't know. You tell me. Usually I ask what it felt like for people. And for myself, when I got introduced to it the first time, it was a very transformative experience. So, yeah, and it was also what made it interesting for me to see clients, because I kind of got a little tired of doing body work. My fingers got tired, and I didn't feel like I was good enough. Who's ever good enough with an undefined ego? But it made me curious again. So then I was like, okay, come in, and then I can see what I can do with this. And then it's still fun. Like I'm still exploring, and it's still fun. And I like big groups with sound. It's always interesting when we come together in groups because something else happens. It's a different space to hold. So I've invested in all kinds of really strange instruments that I don't know if I will want to call them instruments because they're sound things.
Sound machines.
Like I can use some of them to like make music and do a melody and like something that's recognizable. But most of them are just like frequencies that fill the room somehow. Mm. And they're all different. Like where I am, like the space that I am will determine some of what the sounds come out, and the people that are there. So I can be in the same room with the same instrument in the same space, but different people and different sounds will come out. And that's the thing that fascinates me with sound.
So when you're choosing what instruments to use, be it in a group session setting, is it like an intuitive knowing of like, okay, we're going to go there and we're going to use this? Or do you like know what frequency the different instruments have and then choose from there?
Yes. I guess. I like to have the framework. So if the setting is there, like this is the limitation, I have these instruments. And then I have a vague idea of, in my experience, what these instruments have done to people before. so that if I want to go up or if I want to take you down, or I can have a general direction, like some kind of dynamic that I want to go through. And then as soon as I start, I can abandon that because I have to read the room. So every journey is different. and it kind of, the information comes to me from the room, like it's this now or it's this now. And usually we do it in pair, like me and my friend Heidi. And we don't, maybe 15 years ago, we would plan a sound bath. But now we just we have some kind of secret sign language, like this one, that. And then we just follow it. And it has its own life. And it's really, really interesting. And also, something that the geeky scientist in me likes is that these days, a lot of people come with these Fitbits, or they have some kind of tracker on them that will track their heart rate variability and their pulse and these kinds of things. So I usually ask, or can you give me the image of those 2 hours or the hour and a half, so that I can, and then I make a note of what time I play the different instruments to see what they do. And that is a fascinating thing. So I have 2 things that take people really deep down, and then I have some other things that bring them back up again. So the geeky scientist in me likes that people come with these devices, and the sensitive health geek in me doesn't. So this is but once it's there, if you're going to wear it, please send me the information because I'm curious. So yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm one of those that has one of those Fitbit things. Never ever thought of checking it after doing a sound bath or something, but I'm gonna keep an eye out for that next time.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. Yeah, we got a taste of your musical talent at the conference last year. But this year you're going to be flying solo. And so, because last year we also had the gongs and it was very intense and a lot, but I still was able to differentiate between what he was playing versus what you were playing, even if your instruments were, in my words, softer, but they were more, I don't know, there was just something there that I was able to pick up over the incredible gong sound. And so I'm really excited to hear and see, hear, feel all of the things what's going to come out this year. And I'm just, while you were speaking, I was thinking, being a triple split, do you find it more fun to be in a group setting? Yeah. Because I'm just how does that play out versus being one-to-one with someone and versus a group?
It also satisfies the MG in me. It's more efficient. It's I can reach more people than the one-on-one. Yeah. Plus, depending on your design, but a lot of people are really receptive. They're open to what journey the neighbor is having, and this can be a good effect or it could be a negative effect depending on, I guess, the interpretation of the person having the experience. But it's we can get help from a group when a whole group will go into a deep state of meditation. If it's a problem for you to do that by yourself, you're going to be, it's like a swimming with a flock of fish in a school of fish. You're going to be pulled into it whether you want to or not, because it's just a thing. So yeah, I do like groups, especially with the sound, because I don't know, it seems like a waste to have these massive instruments to do the one-on-one, but yeah, I don't know. I do like a group, and it is more efficient. So I guess it's both my triple splitness and the MJ likes that.
How long have you been in music now? I know you talked about childhood, but healing.
15, 20 years.
Wow. Okay.
It's funny now because everybody calls it sound bath now. It used to be gong baths. Mm-hmm. And when we started, gongbath.no, like the Norwegian website, the domain was taken. So I was like, we don't only have gongs, we also have some other instruments. And I was like, it's sound. Let's call it sound bath, you know. And now that's what everybody calls it. I feel like I invented the just because I can buy a domain and have a website for it. But it's a long, long time ago. So I probably have done sound longer than I've done music.
Well, I find that interesting because you're, if I remember correctly, you're 1 year from coming off of the roof as a 6'2".
2 months.
2 months. Oh my gosh. We had that conversation so long ago. What is time? Holy shit. Okay. So you're 2 months away from coming. Okay. Well, first of all,
it's literally 2 months on the day.
That is so exciting. I love that. Okay. So what I'm hearing is that pretty much your entire roof life, it's been like digging into sound and healing through sound and getting in touch with the body through sound. I mean, yes, as a child as well, but going onto the roof and just like really digging into that and hermiting in that way. Do you see or have you sensed a difference in the past, 3 years before now, almost coming off the roof? Like, has that intensified? Has it become more of that role model? Tell me about it.
Well, my focus has been health. The sound has kind of been my health. It's been my thing, and I started like using sound into clients. Yeah, probably 15 years ago. But my focus wasn't the sound and the effect the sound has, but trying to understand what is health. What is it? What is this ease, and what creates the dis-ease? This has been like my focus, is trying to figure out this pure selfish reasons. I wanted to get my own health on track, but it's the later years that it's kind of been merging. The whole it matters. Music matters. I mean, the individual circuitry is the most. You have the most individual gates in the body graph, and you have this acoustic, melancholic quality that kind of needs music to survive or thrive, and all of it. And I see how people use music, how they walk around with their headphones, they go to concerts, they go like this music everywhere. So it's just like it feels recent to me that I'm like, oh, I could do the same that I've been doing with music or with sound. Like it's like it doesn't have to be two different separate worlds. That's a triple split thing, having like this persona doing this and that website and 5 different social media accounts and like for the different things. So I'm trying to just like, I could be me with all of it and still have the effect of health. I don't like the word healing. In Norwegian, it's better because it means holing, to become whole. And yeah, the intensifying, it's like a whirlwind. Like, so out at the edge of it, like, yeah, you get pulled, and now I feel like I've been spinning, and right now I'm at the center of the whole storm. It's like the shift where it's the centrifuge is going to spit me out again at some point, and then we'll see. But right now it's like I feel like I'm in a waiting room. I feel like I'm in transit at the airport, just waiting for my flight to take off, and like nothing much to do other than play and, I don't know, inhale, exhale, and eat, sleep. That's pretty much what I do.
Do you feel like the role model?
No. I am accustomed to the effects that I see I have on people with the feedback that I get. So I'm kind of getting used to it. I'm not too shy about it anymore when you talked about the second line. But I don't feel like it. I feel very defiant. So it's like, if I get like, are you the role model? No. I'm gonna have to, no, I'm not. And then maybe it depends. You don't feel like a role model, do you? Yes. It depends how the question gets asked, I see it. I can see it in a way, but I don't feel like it. No. I just
I find it interesting. It's, we've talked about your process of coming off the roof, obviously over a year ago, because, I remember mentioning that it's been such an interesting time because you came into my life around maybe 2 to 3 years ago. You got into my field of people in human design in Norway, and just being able to witness this process of you now coming off of the roof as a fellow 6'2" who's now 40, and I still have 10 years up here. It's just been and will continue to be really interesting to see how that all plays out. And just for anybody listening who's a little bit confused, maybe you're a little bit newer to human design and don't understand what we're talking about, Chiron return around the age of 50 is when the 6'2" profile and the 4'6" profile and the 6'3" profile, any 6-line profile will then get into their third life phase, where they then are supposedly coming off of the roof as the role model. And what I've understood is that, just from reading and from people's experiences, is that, the Uranus opposition happening around the age of 44-ish, 45-ish, doesn't matter as much or isn't as impactful for the 6-line being as the Chiron return. Do you have any comments on that?
Well, I have the family that I grew up in, me and my sister, my mother and my father. My father, me and my sister are all 6'2s.
Oh,
it's a special combination, I guess, or setup. But seeing my dad come off the roof, I'm speaking of role model, he's also my closest role model as my dad, and how he would just thrive. One should think that, you get kicked out and there's a divorce and all this, like, oh, it's terrible. He just blossomed. It was interesting. He would do the things that he'd like. He's 80 years old. He turns 80 just after I turned 50. And he still practices his piano. He's still rehearsing. And I remember asking him, why do you still rehearse? He's like, but I feel like I'm still getting better. Like, that kind of warms my heart. And he would paint. He has a gallery, art gallery. He paints and he takes photographs, and he does, like, turns them into art. He's in the relationship that he really likes now, and we had this conversation just 2 days ago. I said, like, I'm happy about you as my dad because you seem like you're satisfied. And he was like, no, I wouldn't say satisfied. I would say I'm happy. Even a step up. So that was like, it was fascinating for me to see just how he just became alive, kind of, when he came off the roof. So that's a good role model. Plus, I've done a few readings and I meet people, that have been unaware of the theory in human design and still have this process, and how they become alive when they come out of it. So this is part of why I like it. I heard people say that human design saved my life, and yeah, I probably wouldn't have stuck around if it wasn't this. In theory, there's a plot twist coming, and then I'm like, okay, I'm curious enough to check out this plot twist, see what it is about. Still curious, so still waiting, but
yeah.
But I do
around to see.
I have seen this, yeah. So
does life get better after 50? Let's see. Is this true? I don't know. So that brings me to, if I remember correctly, you're purely individual in your channels.
Half logical, half individual.
That's right. Okay. So you have, what are the individual? I know you have struggle. That's all I can remember right now.
The individual, yeah, struggle is the only individual.
Okay.
I mean, it's enough. I don't know if the 3420 counts, but
Well, it's
too busy being melancholic, I guess. But yeah, no, I have the 515 and the 3420 is one of my splits, and then I have the 2830, the struggle, and I have 63-4, the logic in the head. So it's all split off and all red except for the 3420. So
that's right. I can't. How could I forget you're a 515? That big aura. So I'm curious about, as a struggler, and if I remember from our conversation at Bitsa, you're a natural struggler, as in you're a second line and both. I feel like
I don't have enough first lines to remember that question.
I was going to say, this is my receptiveness trying to remember.
I'd have to look it up. I know the 28 is in the first line at least.
It doesn't matter.
I don't remember.
What I'm curious about is, if you're open to speaking about it, what is your relationship with life and death been like?
I struggled. It's death is kind of my reward. Death is going home. It is more the sense of it. Like going home will be like one day will be my last. I don't know how many I have. I'm worried I'm gonna have a lot of days. I'm gonna get to be a very old, cranky lady, but one of the days is gonna be my last, and then I get to go home. So I kind of check off every day on my list. It's like one down. Don't know how many I have to go, but it's one down. But it's not been like active. In my third line stage, I had some active attempts like this, but became a mother just as I came on the roof. Classic. And that saved me in a sense, kept me alive. And he's alive, I guess, because human design came into my world when he was a little boy. So he's kept his self-worth instead of having a mother calling him stupid every day. He's not. He's also a genius to freak channel, so it's not the right way to call him. He's just the right mind towards my left. So he's different. But he also kept me alive. And then theory from human design is like, there's a plot twist. It has also been like a carrot dangling in front of me. So like, okay, keep inhaling, keep exhaling, one step in front of the other. And it's also given me this another perspective of what's important in life, because I've been out like physically, starting with physically I was out. Like I lost the power of my body, so I couldn't really move. I was more or less paralyzed for a couple of years. She said casually. And you learn it, like being stuck in a square room by myself as a triple split has taught me a lot about the dark corners of my mind, at least, or myself. So like I usually call myself an anchor because I know what the bottom looks like. And from there, it's way more easy to just accept that being alive is it. There is no, but I have to get to the thing, and I have to become something, and I have to, all of these things that we're pulled up, especially these days with internet and social media and all of this, like you got to get up at 5 a.m, and you have to do some cold plunges, and then you got to do juicing, but no refined oils, and like all of these, there are all these rules, to becoming successful or whatever it is. But you already won because you are alive, and then it's inhale and exhale. It's not really more than that. When it comes to accomplishing anything, it's magic in its own sense, because of all the things that have to like fall into line that a baby's going to be born. It's pretty fucking amazing that we're alive at all. So it's given me this kind of perspective, at least, though. I mean, I can appreciate it in a sense, and then I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, and I also wouldn't ever take it away from my own experience. So it is as it should be, and it's been tough, but it's also been rewarding.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. You know, I surround myself with strugglers. My husband, my best friends, you, my mentor. It's just like I'm very drawn to that energy, obviously. And I think, you know, just being a 1222 and also a genius to freak, just, you know, being two parts individual for me, that melancholy, I think for me, if mindfulness had not shown up in my life in like 2012, 2011, something like that, I don't know where I would be today. Because for me, it was like, okay, that taking that step back and observing what's going on and not personally attaching myself to either, you know, the hope or the despair. Right. There's just like, this too shall pass if I'm excited, and this too shall pass when I'm sad. It's just part of being alive. But then adding in that 6-line alien feeling of like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, why? Let me go home. Just, I catch myself just looking at these starry nights, because there's been so many beautiful nights just like in the past week. No clouds, just big ass stars. And I'm just like, that's where I belong. Why am I here? You know, I can have those intense feelings of, I don't get it. And then it's like you said, well, I get to do this thing called life for now. And someday I'm going to go home, you know. But it is interesting, especially with, you know, like you said, most of the chart, or at least a big chunk of the chart, is these individual gates and channels. And that means that there's a lot of people out there that have melancholy as just their baseline. It's just part of life. And then you have internet that's throwing at you having to be happy and having to be blissful and do all these 15 things every morning and you will be amazing. And I've fallen into that many times, you know. And even after human design came into my world, I can still find my mind just being like, well, if I just do that one thing, then I won't be so sad. If I just do this one thing, or if I just get consistent with that thing, then it's going to be over. And then it's just like, but what if me feeling this is just part of what I get to do as this incarnation? And I think that can be hard for people who are purely collective or purely tribal to even fathom. Yeah. But, you know, we get to do this.
Yeah, no, and also, like, we come in, both you and me, we come in with this left angle, you know, it's not just about us.
Yeah.
So I notice if I go into like, oh, boo-hoo, poor me mode, that the struggle can do, because it's individual and it'll search for meaning. And if it's not there, I'll go in and chew on myself, you know, to really torment myself. But as soon as I just lift up and there's another one that I can just listen to their suffering, and what that means to the other one is like, I didn't even, I've been trying to fix, you know, I've been fixing with my undefined solar plex and my therapist hat on. I'm like, I'm trying to fix and fix and fix. And I realized that it's not always the fix. It's more like just sitting with people in the discomfort, because we're so fucking scared of discomfort that we're willing to get up at 5 a.m. and do ice plunges and shit just to try and avoid it, you know. I mean, nothing wrong with a bit of a cold plunge. I mean, I don't mean that, but do it from inside, do it from where it hits home in you. And I still have, like, especially when I use sound, like the other day I had a client on the table, and then I end it all with I had some, they're called waves, they're like in fifths. And I end with that because fifths contract. It will pull you in and kind of after a treatment. And then she asked me, so what does the sound do? What is it supposed to do to me? Where I go, what did it feel like to you? Like, what's your experience of it? oh no, I feel like it really calmed me, and then like I could pull myself together. And that's the theory, but I don't want to give that to you because then it's outer authority, and then you're trying to do what is right. There's like this right or wrong thing. But like I always try and like, what is it like for you? So when also with human design, people, oh, what does it mean when I have this channel? Like, you tell me. Like, what is it like for you to have this channel? It's like, it's more important for me to in my own life to like, it's me, and it's real, whatever that is. And this word truth, and it's like, I don't know, truth is as many things as the eyes looking. It's a weird thing. So this was something that I took from the conference last year when Eva was having his mindfulness talk, and he switched the word truth for me into honesty. And honesty I could bring home. That's something I can use in me. So I thank him for that. And this is like also what I loved about human design. This system, when it comes in, it's like, it is describing what is, and honestly what I am experiencing, because what I've been told is like, that doesn't really, 2-6 in my sun. Like if you look at the hexagram, it's all split lines. Like everything goes in. There is no defense in it. So I get the mismatch of somebody hating me for showing up at their bar trying to order a drink, and the words come out, oh, beloved, what can I get for you? That mismatch is like, I pick it up in this frequency. So I was like, oh, what is this thing? And then this system comes in and describes it for me. And I'm like, And then my mind was engaged pretty early in my experiment. It was like, oh, I can fix it. My 2 Plutos are 18. I'm like, oh, I can fix it. Perfect. We can do something about this. And like the further along I get, it's like, there is nothing to fix. There is accepting what is. And if you don't, too bad. That's suffering in a way. Okay. And I see this, I have this joke, I guess, that we need a school of suffering. It's not that I want people to suffer, but if you take your own resistance from whatever is happening away, for example, you have wave, on your way down, you're on your wave. Or I liked Martin Grassinger because he, instead of going up and down, he goes left and right. So I like that. It's like, yep, that sounds better, but it's also, it's a windy road, and sometimes it doesn't feel so good. And if we can just sit with that till it passes, it's better than resisting that it happens, because you can't change it anyway. And then, you just increase your own suffering in it. So this is like, I feel that we need this, we call it school of contrast. Like we need to learn that there is a binary. And that's what I love about the system too, is like, it shows this. It shows, and I might not personally like some of the descriptions in there. And then I meet these people that have these things, and I'm like, oh, it's real. It's just, I don't like it. I prefer something else, and that's fine. But it's still part of it. It's part of what I see out there. So I don't remember where we started with this, but
doesn't matter when where it went.
This is where we're at.
I'm just having this quote come up in my mind, which is, what we resist persists. And I think that's, for anybody, I think that's really important. But also then being an emotional person, not wanting to go to the depths of despair has been one of my biggest pitfalls. And it does keep this, call it depression, because that's what people like to call it. But this feeling of being depressed, of just being at the bottom of the ocean and not being able to breathe, it just prolongs it. But the moment I can then just like, okay, I'm just going to go deep dive. I'm going to lay on that bottom of the ocean, and I'm just going to stay there. And I'm going to feel like I can't breathe. And I'm going to feel like this is never going to end. And I'm going to feel like I'm going to, I've lost God and God has forsaken me or whatever entity we want to add in there as God, but just like, I have been forsaken. That's where my mind goes to. But the moment I can just be like, okay, we're going to be here. Maybe we'll draw a little bit. Maybe we'll just lay in Savasana on our yoga mat. Maybe we're just going to, embrace this in some way. And then it goes away pretty quickly. And I'm doing that in quotations for anybody listening. But the process does prolong if I don't allow myself to go to that depth. And that sucks more than just going there.
I learned many years ago, probably in my first life, being sixth life, taking diving lessons. If you get caught in a wave and you don't know where you are, tuck yourself into like a little cannonball so that you can sink. And when you're at the bottom, you know where you are, and then you can kick and come back up. And this is like, okay, I can use this in waves, like emotional wave land too.
Yes.
But it was a really good advice. There's like, if you know where you are, maybe you don't have to go all the way down. But like if you're lost, like you say, like you're just spinning around in this wave, sink. Sink to the bottom, and then you know where you are, and you can kick your way back up. So it's like, I like this image. Easy for me to say because I'm undefined soul plex. It was the biggest first thing that I learned in human design, because it was shown to me. Not when I read it, because I didn't read much of it. I learned from Richard Beaumont and in Aura. I learned from him showing me. And he separated the room, defined solar plexus, undefined solar plexus, and then I could walk into that aura, and I was like, "Oh, it's you!" It's like I can just avoid you. First thought, come out of my mind. Well, I can just avoid you. That would be boring, but just taking it, like I don't have to identify with this and amplify it and run all over the place and slam the doors and whatnot that I was doing. I could just like focus the direction out. And now it just goes, oh, did that make you nervous? How did you know? And then like, I'm just the magical person that picks that up. It's a big thing. It's not hard to discover that you're feeling something, but because it hits me. But it was really helpful for me to realize that I don't need to process life through these waves unless I do. Every now and then there's something where I'm like, okay, now something is active in me. I'm like, and I'm not talking about background, I'm talking other things that kick up in me. And that's when I apply the strategy of waiting. Maybe I don't act my way out of this quite yet. I'll just be with it, stay with it and feel it, play it if I can, because it's a way to express it in a way that words can't. And it's easy for me because it's not a wave pushing. It's more like I can apply this waiting, and then it really adds a lot of depth to whatever the experience is, whatever I'm going through. Yeah, but I want to ask you about music. What happened? What's your relationship with music?
Oh my. I've always had a very deep emotional connection to music. If, when I was taking my analysis course from James Alexander, he talked about the 1222 in particular. And he said the 1222 has a tendency to cap itself because it's not accepted in its lows and it's not accepted in its highs because they're so extreme. And so it has a tendency to numb itself into a very middle point. And when I heard that, I was just like, oh, fuck, that's me, that's me. But then I started really like contemplating it and like, okay, so what does this feel like? What does this mean? How can I actually get more in context? Because it's also unconscious for me, my 1222. my 22 is my personality sun, but my 12 is my design earth. So the full channel is just unconscious. And I started like going back to my youth and like first life phase, like, what did I do? How did I, because I used to be very volatile. I used to be incredibly, unfortunately, explosive against other people, which isn't very good either. Our emotions are not here to be spewed onto other people. You got to find healthy ways of spewing them out because they need to come out. And I was like, oh my God, I used to listen to music to feel sad. And so what I've been doing in the past, human design, 6 years that I've been in human design is like, okay, what were the songs that when I was 15, 16, 17 would listen to get into that depth of despair feeling? And I'll go and I'll listen to them and I'll get in contact with that. And I'll be, bursting out, laying on the floor, crying my eyes out, and my husband not knowing what the fuck to do with his completely open solar plexus, All he's got is that 39 pointing at it. That's it.
Remember this meeting across town. I got to go.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's just like, and he'll like, he's gotten really, really so much better at holding it and holding the capacity of, this isn't mine, this is hers. And I feel it so much more than she's feeling it. And I know that, but I'm going to be here for her and support her. And that has been a beautiful process in our relationship, where just knowing that for him has been mind blowing, but also for me, just understanding that he doesn't know what it's like for me, but it's being amplified in him. So it feels even worse. I usually say it's just the water I live in. My defined solar plexus is just the water I live in. For me, it's just part of it. But for him, it's not the water he lives in. And so he's like, oh, what is this thing? But yeah, music is definitely something that can help me unnumb the numbness that I've created because of, my beautiful mother, who is a open solar plexus or undefined solar plexus as well, right? When she would amplify my emotions, they would make it even more scary for me to feel them, because it was just like, what is this thing coming at me when I was feeling sad? And she would just be like, rah, rah. And so I kind of got scared of my own emotions because of that, and bless her heart, she doesn't know what she was doing. So yeah, I think, being able to also use music to get to that ecstasy point of joy, and just putting on a playlist of just bursting with lots of energy and just like, whoa, okay, let's go. Because I can feel like I'm there, and I can just use music to really get in contact with that wave, with the ups and downs of hope and pain, which is the 1222, or that stream of emoting. So yeah, music is very important to me. And my husband and I have very, very different tastes of music. He's a pure individual. So music, like you said earlier, with the acoustics of the individual channels, is incredibly important to him as well. But he's more death metal. And I'm more Tom McRae and Taylor Swift. I'm like singer-songwriters.
So does the words in the songs matter to you?
Yes. Wholeheartedly, 100%. When I found out that my husband doesn't listen to the lyrics, I was like, who are you? What do you mean you don't listen to the lyrics? Like, we were going to choose songs for our wedding, and I can't remember what song it was, but he threw out a song, and I was like, have you ever heard of listen to the lyric? I mean, I know it sounds romantic, but it's fucking terrible. No, that is not the song we're going to have in our wedding, because the lyrics is like, I would say it's even more important than the musicality of the song. Yeah. And
yeah, I'm more with your husband, I'll know the bass line and the drum beat and all of that before I know the lyrics usually. Or if I'm covering a song, I have to actually learn the lyrics. I'm like, I've heard this song all my life, and it's really nice. So yeah, it's more in the emotional expression of it than the words for me. But I do like, because you say a lot of times I see people trying to feel better by listening to uplifting music or whatever music that will bring them up. And then I'm like, wait, you're not feeling up, are you? Why aren't you listening to something that brings you where you are? That's kind of resonates with that frequency. And so I like that you said that, like, where is that bottomless pit? What song was that again? And then, there it is. So me too. That's why like death metal makes sense to me with individual circuit. It's like sometimes you gotta just have the thing be heard or felt, or you just have it seen. I guess it's a good way to look at it. Has to be right. So I'm like also like I play really hard, loud. If it's a wall of sound coming off like 50,000 guitar amps on a stage, I'm like, yes. Like my hair be like back and say yes. It kind of makes sense in a way, and then I can also go into the really soft and the really gentle music, but it depends. Like it has to fit the mood. So I like it.
Yeah, my husband has found out that when he's very often we're in aura. Our life is like that right now. He works from home. I study from home. And when he needs to like get away from amplifying my two emotional waves, he'll go downstairs and he'll play his drums and he'll play his guitar and he'll be like, it's going to be an hour and you're going to hear it, but I need to go. And then he'll just hear, just like the whole house will shake because he's just in death metal mode. Like, fuck this shit. I need to release this. I'm done. Let's go. So yeah, music is really important for both of us. And I think, I don't know, there's just something anchored in me from when I was a teenager and really was absolutely in contact with my feelings. And then as I grew older, society kind of put a cap on that. I put a cap on that. And now I'm kind of rekindling that passion for feeling sad. Can I say that? Yeah.
Yes, when you speak to me, you can. Absolutely, I celebrate that.
Yeah.
It's important. It's one of the feelings. Like, why discriminate? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And people call it low frequency emotions and all this, and I'm like, I kind of like the low frequency in the music. It's boring without bass. So is that why are we discriminating? It's part of the orchestra of life.
That's actually part of the whole, I don't know even what to call it, the new age wave of manifestation and living your best life. I think it's really detrimental to anybody, but especially then the emotional beings, when someone is like, oh, you got to keep a high vibe because then you're going to attract the things that you want. And I'm like, 50% of the population are here to really feel shitty sometimes. And I don't know. I think it's actually dangerous for people to say that.
And as a receptive being, I'm like, I would much rather have real than this fake smile. And I know that there's my half of the percentage, like my 50% of the open or undefined solar plex that are the worst. I'm using quotations, and especially when they're unaware, because they amplify and they're everywhere. That's where it gets dangerous. That's where it's like you kill your wife in effect, because it gets too much. But meeting, so if I'm going to meet somebody that never heard about human design and are totally unaware of how they function, I would much rather meet an emotional creature, because at least they know how to feel and they're real with it often. So that's, for me, that's like, it's a 6-line thing again, like the authenticity. I like it to be real. I like it to be what it is. So like we often have this, especially in therapy, like I have these conversations like, oh, but So not let it affect me. Is this what you're saying? I'm like, no, I'm saying let it affect you the way that it affects you. Oh, but that hurts. I know.
Yeah.
That's why you stored it in your body, because it was too much for you to deal with when it happened, or when it got stuck. It's not dangerous to feel. It's just painful. So it's the like Ross says, this is the deepest pain that a human can experience, is this emotional pain. So I mean, I'm not gonna just brush it off like an easy thing to do, but I think we need to learn how to sit with, or walk with, or run with, or box with, or swim with, or whatever you do, cold plunge with your emotions. Sometimes not having to change them. Like, what's the recipe? How do I get out of this? Maybe just feel it. No, I don't want to feel it because it's so bad. Like, how do I get out of it? And then you're in trouble. If you think you're going to avoid life because it's social life, it's spiritual life, it's emotional life, it's all through that solar plexus. It's the biggest thing. It's the biggest motor in the whole in the whole system that it's going to affect us. So
Yeah, I love that.
I think music helps.
It does. I mean, Adele is a 1222 manifester.
Mm-hmm.
And when you listen to Adele's music, that is not written on a high. It's written when she was at the lowest point of her wave. And what would we do if we didn't have the music of Adele? And so many others. That's the first person that comes to mind right now. And yeah,
somebody said once that a stable mind is not gonna produce some good art. I mean, you need a little bit of suffering so that you want to express the pain, and then that's when art kicks in, So it would be really boring if we were all on a high all the time and it was just love and light.
Love and light.
I had a joke with my sound friend. She's a light eater, like she wants the sunlight on her skin. In the old days, they would have this mag light in theaters to show you your seat, because it was dark. So this is where you're going to sit. So it's like this mag light of showing. And me, like here living on a farm, I usually have a mag light in my pocket. So that because it gets dark, really dark. There's no traffic lights or anything around. So I need this mag light. So I had this in my pocket when she was like, well, I have to go out and see the sun. So I ran out, to the sun. And then I showed her, like with my flashlight, like, this is where the sun is. And she just looked at me like a little weird. I'm like, this is the love and light. It's not where you need light. You need it when it's fucking dark. That's when you need your torch or your mag light, your flashlight. It's when it gets dark. That's where it's useful, not when the sun's out shining. That's all. So that was my joke.
I love that. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Oh, yeah. I think if we all could, I can't remember what you called it, but the school of pain or whatever.
Contrast.
Yeah, school of contrast, a little bit more sexy and sellable.
Everybody wants the school of suffering. Like, no.
That's what it was.
Not gonna apply. No.
But I think the more we can accept that that's part of life. And I read just the other day, I can't remember what it was or where it was, but it was just like, I bet the angels are envious of our ability to feel everything. And that just hit really home with me. Like, yeah, we get to go to all of the specter of emotions. We get to hear all of the frequencies of the sounds. And the more that we can lean into the fact that we are absolutely not in control, and this is the incarnation that we have, we get to live this life, there will be less suffering.
It's an interesting thing actually with the words that you're using, and in English it's called spelling. So you cast spells with the words that you're saying. And they did a research project with depression. 3 different groups. Group 1 gets antidepressant medication. Group 2 gets mindfulness meditation, this kind of therapy. And the 3rd group, they clean the language of, wasn't allowed to say I cannot or I have to. This is the group that comes out best. So, if you want a little tip in your life, because they are mantras. This is also the way that our DNA is communicating, is through language. They have like sentences and dialects and syntax and all this. So usually we use the negative mantras, look in the mirror and go, oh, I'm so fat, or like I'm wrinkly, or whatever the thing is that you keep saying to yourself. You create that in a way, it's out there. So if you take out, clean your language in a way, and then you start your day with, today I get to, whatever it is you get to do today, instead of, oh, I have to go to work. Oh, I should cold plunge. No, I don't know.
And I have a thing about cold plunge lately.
It's decent time for me to go dip in the fjord soon, but it's like if I get today, I get to do a cold plunge. It's a very different frequency that you have in your everyday life. So this is an important thing, how we talk to ourselves and others. So if you're a little conscious in your language, so I just heard you were saying, like, I get to, and it's like, yes, that is the wording that helps much better than I should, or I have to, or I can't. I get to.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. I hadn't thought about it, but that's an interesting forskning.
Research.
Thank you. My English is like, nope, I'm done now. Which does lead me to, I'm feeling very complete in this conversation. I've had a lot of fun talking to you, like I always do. Is there anything you would like to finish us off with? Anything you would like to round off with? Anything you feel like you didn't get to speak to today?
Not really. I was very happy to get to talk about music and sound.
Yeah. Well, I am excited to share you with everybody at the conference. And for those who don't know, Birgitte will be facilitating an in-aura experience for us, and she will be bringing some of her fantastic instruments and be doing something with sound during the weekend. And yeah, I'm really, really excited for everybody to experience you, Birgitte. So thank you so much for having this conversation with me.
Thank you.